Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Goranandana Prajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Kishoranandana Prajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Soranandana Prajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sri Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Nityalila Vishnu Mishtapada Shivange the AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami says Prabhupada Ki Ananda Guri Vaishnava Ki Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhana Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Bolo Sri Sri Krishna Baldao Ki Itai Gaur Premanandi all glories to the Son of the Buddha. All glories to the Son of the Buddha. All glories to the Son of the Buddha. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru Gauranga. Glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 15, King Prithu's Appearance and Coronation. Text number 4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I am tu pratamo ragyam kuman pataita yashaha ritur nama maharajo vivisyati ritusravaha. I am tu pratamo ragyam kuman pratayita yasha Viturnama Maharajo Bhavisyati Pratusravaha. I am tu pratamo ragyam Kuman pratayita yasha Priturnama Maharajo Bhavisyati Pratusravaha. I am tu pratamo ragyam Kuman pratayita yasha Priturnama Maharajo Bhavisyati Pratusravaha. Ladies. I am this, to, then, Pratama, the first, Ragam of kings, Kuman, the male, Pratayita will expand, Yashaha, reputation, Pritu, Maharaj Pritu, Nama, by the name, Maharaja, the great king, Vivisyati will become Ritusravaha of wide renown. It's like we can understand Strava is comes the word Stravan comes from this, so we can Widely known means he will widely be heard about. Interesting. Translation: of the two, the male will be able to expand his reputation throughout the world. His name will be Prithu, and indeed he will be the first among kings. Translation, please repeat. Of the two, the male will be able to expand his reputation throughout the world. His name will be Prithu. Indeed, he will be the first among kings. Just like we know Yashoda, so Yashaha, reputation generally means fame. So Yashoda means one who gives fame. Just like Radharani's mother is Kirtida. We know Kirtan, to chant the glory. So Kirtida, who will give glory. Or Vrishabhanu's mother's name is Sukada, who gives happiness. We know Sukh, happiness. So the names of all the original Brishbasis are very nice. They're all givers. Sab dene wala hai. Ab ye sab dene wala chala gaye, only lene wala rahe. Now all the givers have gone away, only takers are left. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There are different types of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Shastras, it is said Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva and Ananta are all very powerful incarnations of the Brahman feature of the Lord. Similarly, Sachipati, or Indra, the king of heaven, is an incarnation of the lusty feature of the Supreme Lord. Aniruddha is an incarnation of the Lord's mind. Similarly, Prithu is an incarnation of the ruling force of the Lord. Thus, the saintly persons and great sages predicted. Vivacity means in the future, so they're predicting. Predicted the future activities of King Prithu, who was already explained as a partial incarnation of a plenary expansion of the Lord. I am tu pratamo ragyam kuman prataita yasha priturnama maharajo bhavisyati pritusrava. Of the two, the male will be able to expand his reputation throughout the world. His name will be Prithu. Indeed, he will be the first among kings. So Prabhupada gives very interesting purport here, describing the Garuda is also an expansion of the power of the Lord, Lord Shiva, Ananta. They're also very powerful incarnations. Similarly, Indra, this is very interesting. The king of heaven is an incarnation of the lusty feature of the Lord. Because we always hear pastimes about Indra. He's always getting himself in trouble. In fact, that's how he ended up with eyes all over his body. That's another story. But anyway. Aniruddha is an incarnation of the Lord's mind. So King Prithu, we'll see, he's the incarnation of the ruling force of the Lord. Because we'll see, as the chapter goes on, that first thing Prithu did was sit all the citizens down because they had been ruled by a godless King Vena, and all the rascals and demons had taken over everything. He said, first of all, you must know there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's like we see nowadays, most of the scientists they're all atheistic. We're not against science, but science should be used, just like we were listening to a nice lecture by our dear departed godbrother, Sariputta. So he was using science to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so instead of make people faithless. He said, we don't need, just like this one fellow was there in England, what was his name? Stephen Hawking. He wrote so many books that this God is a nonsense thing. But first of all, you can't even deny the existence. You may not be able to prove sakshat that God exists, but you can't deny his existence. Because you say that there is no God, and that is absolutely true, then the absolute truth exists. So if you deny the existence of God, you prove it. Because that's absolutely true in all times and all circumstances, then absolute truth exists. So Sariputta was giving a nice lecture how we can, just like the modern scientists, now they got their big Webb telescope and they're telling us so many things are wrong now. We've understood, every time it's changing and changing. But who knows what they're actually seeing out there? He gave the example. He was saying that Krishna is the Lord of everything, so he's the Lord of our senses. So he decides what the senses can perceive and not perceive. It's like we can't understand the fifth canto; it's very difficult. He said this is because we can't perceive these things the way other people are perceiving them. And he gave the example, just like Lord Krishna, just like in Dwarka, Lord Brahma came, and he told the doorman, "Tell that Brahma is here." And the doorman came back, and Krishna said he wanted to know which Brahma. Brahma said, "Which Brahma? The one with 4 heads who runs the universe here." So he came in, he saw Lord Krishna, he said, "I have some doubt. You asked which Brahma? You mean there's other Brahmas?" And then Lord Krishna called, and some Brahmas came with 5 heads, with 6 heads, 10 heads, 100 heads, 100,000 heads, even millions of heads, 10 million heads. And they all bowed down at Lord Krishna's lotus feet, and their helmets made a huge sound. And Lord Brahma was amazed. And it describes there that everyone, all the Brahmas, thought that they had come to see Krishna in their universe. And they didn't see all the other Brahmas. But Lord Brahma, he was able to see all the other Brahmas, all of the Brahmas. Because Krishna is the Lord of he's in charge of everything. So he's in charge of our senses, what we can perceive and not perceive. So the other Brahmas were unable to perceive that other Brahmas were there. But our Lord Brahma was able to perceive all the Brahmas. So who knows what they're seeing every time they're changing their ideas and theories. Just like an ordinary con man in the circus, they make a certain thing where you go inside and you see a mirror and you suddenly see you're very fat. Then you look in the next mirror and there's a skinny fellow. And you look in the next mirror, there's 2 of you. So even an ordinary con man can make you see different things. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead. So who knows what they're seeing, what Krishna is allowing them to see in the universe and come up with all their so-called theories. So we should use science to understand Krishna, just like he was scientifically explaining, just like we have pastime that Krishna, I don't know if we have painting, no, Krishna was with all his friends in the forest, and especially at Terkadam. Krishna called all his friends, and all the friends, because the Ter in Brijbasa means to call. So first he called all his friends with Krishna's got a very special mobile phone. Just like you've got a mobile phone with so many numbers. If you see Krishna's mobile phone, only 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So he called all his friends to the forest to herd the cows. And then after a while, around noontime, because they hang all their lunch bags in the trees there. Because we were describing the kunjas, so many kunjas are there in Terkadam, and they hung their lunch basket in the tree because the leaves are evaporating water. It's not that the trees pull the water from the earth by the process of osmosis. When the water evaporates, it's not an active thing, it's a passive thing. The evaporating water by osmosis pulls the water up into the roots. And evaporation causes cooling effects. So this is Krishna's fridge. This is the cowherd boys' fridge. They put all their lunch bags in the tree and they stay fresh. So they all came and got their lunch bags, but they looked around and they can't take prasadam without Krishna. How will they eat without Krishna? So they don't have any mobile phones like Krishna. They have their own echo sound voice. So they all called, "Oh, Krishna! Come take your lunch. We're all hungry." So Krishna, he's another name for Krishna is Mitabuk. He's never hungry. But by the call of love for the devotees, he becomes hungry. So Krishna calls, "I'm coming." And even our Terkadam Baba has learned Russian. Idu, Idu. That's Russian for "I'm coming." So all the cowherd boys come and they all sit down around Krishna in a circle. Some are in front, some are behind, some this side, some that side, some backside. But everyone sees that Krishna is looking at him and nobody else. So Krishna is the Lord. He's in charge of what we can see and what we can't see. So everyone saw that Krishna was looking, whether he was backside, front side, this side, everyone saw Krishna is looking at him and nobody else. So many wonderful pastimes are there. So we should use science to understand that God exists. The first thing that Maharaj Prithu tells all the citizens, that the Supreme Personality of God exists. And we see everybody thinks he's a supreme controller, but somehow or other, things are not going to the way we planned everything. Just like just before I became a devotee, we were living in the mountains above Boulder, Colorado. And we saw this big mountain and we decided we'll climb up to that mountain. Two of us, we decided. So the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So we were going straight and we camped out. And in the morning, all of a sudden we came to this big barbed wire fence. And it said, "Boulder City Watershed, trespassers will be prosecuted." Because just beyond that fence, there was a river, and that was the water supply for Boulder City. And we saw the mountain is there, this fence is there. Anyway, did you see a sign? I didn't see any sign. What sign? So we just climbed through the barbed wire, and then we got to the river, and we did exactly what they didn't want us to do. We immediately took our bath in the river. And we held our cloth and we went to the other side. And then we started coming and they made a dam. And it had just been done. So to make that dam, they cleared all the trees. So we stuck out like sore thumbs. So the forest ranger, he immediately spotted us. So he came with his car. He said, "You boys is trespassing." I said, "How are we trespassing? We're children of God. I'm walking in my Father's property. How am I trespassing?" He says, "Well, I might agree with you, but I don't make the law. I just enforce the law. You're going to have to tell it to the judge." So, but it was breakfast time. So he took us to his cabin and we were sitting outside while he was eating his breakfast. So then we emptied all our pockets of all certain herbs that we had. And they took us down and put us in jail. And then I started getting anxiety. They said, wait a minute, I'm God. Because this was our philosophy. I'm God, you're God, we're all God, you know. I said, God can't be in anxiety. I sure wish I was out of here. So somehow or other, I started doing it. First I was, and the jail was all metal. It was a metal floor, metal walls, everything was metal. So everything in the jail echoed, you know. And because it was just a temporary holding cell, there wasn't a mattress. There was just a metal tray. But anyway, I somehow sat in that metal tray, best I could, because even before everybody had hard time sitting on the cross-legged. Just like now, that's come back again with old age. And I started chanting Om. And I was thinking, you're God. You can, inside the jail, outside the jail, it's all one. Well, I sure wish I was out of here. All my philosophy started falling apart. It's all one, inside the jail, outside the jail. So, and then when I was chanting Om, it was all right. But as soon as I stopped, you know, all the sounds of the jail came crashing down on me. Hmm? So then I started singing old Bob Dylan songs. There must be some way out of here, said the joker to the thief. There's too much confusion. I can't get no relief. I don't know if anybody remembers those old songs. So all of a sudden I remembered that one day in the park, we come down, every once in a while we come down, and it was a park called Central Park where all the young people congregated. So we were all there with our guitars, and some girl named Angel came into the park, and she started playing her guitar and dancing. There was a telephone pole right in the middle of the park, and she started dancing around the pole and chanting Hare Krishna. So we all picked up we all watched her chords, so we all picked up the chords immediately, and we all started dancing around this tree and chanting Hare Krishna. So suddenly I remember that, and I felt very blissful. So I said, all right, let's try that. So I began to imitate that. I had a guitar and I was playing all the chords, and I was singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And I was having a grand old time. I was just in ecstasy. All of a sudden, it didn't matter, inside the jail, outside the jail, I was just chanting. And I could hear somebody was down, people were down there in the TV room, you know, but it's metal jails, everything echoed, you know, as I was just chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hey, shut up in there. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And somehow I knew that whatever it was, because I always used to feel when I would chant, we chant Om, there was some power. We could always feel that power. So somehow that power is going to help me. So on the way to the jail, actually, we stopped at the camp to pick up our identification. And so everybody knew we were going to jail. So there was one guy who was, we won't tell what business he was doing, but anyway, he had a lot of money. So he came down, all of a sudden this guy, the jailer comes in and said, okay, hey, Chief, you can, because I had hair all over the place. So he said, okay, Chief, you can stop your chanting. They're here. And he had come down, I guess it was $50 to bail us out or something. He bailed us out. So that was my first experience of chanting Hare Krishna, because my whole, everything, all my philosophy fell up. You're God, how can you be in anxiety? God can't be in anxiety. Wait a minute, it's all one. Inside the jail, outside the jail, it's all one. Well, I sure wish I was out of here. So actually it's very easy to perceive God, just like we here in this New Zealand, everywhere we see so much greenery and so many beautiful rolling hills, and half of them are covered with trees and half of them are green pasture land, and so many beautiful beaches we've seen, and so many nice people. We have to believe there's a God. How did all this come about? Hmm? Uh, and so it's easy to understand. So first thing Prithu did was tell all the citizens, there's a supreme personality of Godhead. Huh? And you're his eternal servant. Therefore, a few days later, we met the devotees and we went back. They didn't even have a temple. They come to start a temple and they were staying 15 miles outside of Boulder in some real log cabin, not with cut wood, but real logs, like this. And first thing, Bhavananda was the first devotee I met. First thing Bhavananda said is, because first thing I told Bhavananda, because he was telling me all these things, and then I said, but Bhavananda, he was trying to tell we are servants of God. And I said, but aren't we all God? And he said, oh, you are God, and how you have forgotten. And that hit me like a load of bricks, because we used to ask the same question. We say, I'm God, you're God, we're all God. When we were, we had a little spice to get us up there. We say, hi God, you're God, oh, we're all God. How did we miss it all this time? Look at all these foolish people, they don't know. I'd ask the same question, but when, oh, you are God, and how you have forgotten. So, and that struck me like a load of bricks. Yeah, that's right. Just like I went to Catholic school, so we used to have this on Sundays while the parents went to the church. We'd always have this catechism class. So in the very basic thing in the catechism class, you learn God knows everything. So even these first graders in the catechism class are greater than the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis say, you're God, but you've forgotten. Huh? And how God forgot? So even these kids, they know God knows everything. You can preach to them, you're not the supreme controller. Everything's going on beyond your control. And I'd seen that, So when Bhavananda said, no, and you are God, how have you forgotten? Then I listened to everything he had to say. I was defeated. Because I had seen it personally. I had no desire to end up in jail, but there I was in jail beyond my power, And somehow I got out. That was also beyond my power. So I could understand. So this is the first thing that Maharaj Prithu began to preach to all his citizens. So anyway, there's not much purport. Actually, the next few verses don't have much purport, so we'll just go through those verses. Text number 5. Iyam cha surati devi guna bhusana bhusana archir nama bararoha pritum eva varundati. The female has such beautiful teeth and beautiful qualities, and she will actually beautify the ornaments she wears. Her name will be Archie. In the future, she will accept Prithu as her husband. Many times, this is the description of Radharani's beauty. That she's so beautiful that even the ornaments, which generally decorate women, they become decorated by being in the body of Srimati Radharani. She will actually beautify the ornaments she wears. Her name will be Archie. In the future, she will accept King Prithu as her husband. Isha sakshadarir amso jatu loka nirakshaya iyam cha tatparahi sri anujagye napayani. In the form of King Prithu, the Supreme Personality Godhead has appeared through a part of his potency to protect the people of the world. The goddess of fortune is the constant companion of the Lord, and therefore she has incarnated partially as Archie to become King Prithu's queen. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that whenever he sees an extraordinary power, that wherever one sees an extraordinary power, he should conclude that a specific partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present. There are numerous such personalities, but not all of them are direct Vishnu Tattva plenary expansions of the Lord. Many living entities are classified among the Shakti Tattvas. Such incarnations, empowered for specific purposes, are known as Shaktavesh avatars. King Prithu was such a Shaktavesh avatar of the Lord. Similarly, Archie, King Prithu's wife, was a Shaktavesh avatar of the goddess of fortune. So one of the types of incarnation is Shakti-avesh, where we see that a living entity has some special power. So we can understand that's just a partial representation of Krishna's power. Like we're seeing here, Prabhupada is talking about the king protecting the citizens. Because now all over the world, the citizens feel unprotected. All the rogues and thieves, by word juggling and this and that, they somehow get free and go on with their nefarious activities. And the people feel unprotected. And the situation has become completely intolerable. Nobody's being protected. Rather, they're being exploited by whoever their ruler is. Just like we're always hearing about, just like in South Africa, they found some guy, his sofa was stuffed with cash. And still they kept him as a leader. He can't explain where all this cash came from, but anyway, still they kept him. Anyway, all these things are going on. But King Prithu, he's going to show he's the incarnation of the Lord's ruling potency. So just like Prabhupada explains, that their idea of secular, just like somehow they got this idea of secular state. But secular, Prabhupada says, doesn't mean godless. It means however people want to worship the Lord according to their religion, they should be allowed. So the state can't enforce one religion over another, but the state must enforce that people understand there is a God. Just like this is the first thing that King Prithu does with all the citizens. He said, there is a God, Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's controlling the whole universe. And you have to cooperate with his plan, and then you'll be happy. This was the first thing the King Prithu did. And now they got this idea, secular means godless. And we see when people become godless, then they lose all types of morality. People are only moral because they believe there's a God who's going to, who's the supreme controller, and he somehow punishes those who are bad. As soon as we said there's no God, then I can do anything. Just like we see in the United States, you go to school and you get shot. We always went to school and we had a wonderful time at school. And now we're afraid if we go to school, we may get shot, or you may go to the dance club and you may get shot all over the world, but especially America. It's become completely crazy. People are godless and they just become crazy. So this was the first thing that we'll see that King Prithu does, is train the people to become God-fearing. Then we can have a peaceful society. Otherwise, it'll just be crazy situation. So I'm seeing one nice painting. It was actually, we were doing Govardhan Prika, but we didn't get a chance to tell the main Govardhan story. But in Gopal Champu, Jiva Goswami gives some wonderful details. And in Ananda Vrindavan Champu, Kavi Karnapur, he also gives wonderful details of this pastime. Because Lord Krishna saw that Nanda Baba was getting ready to plan some function. So he went to his father. He said, what is this? What are you doing? What are all these preparations for? He said, well, we're planning to worship Lord Indra because from Lord Indra comes the rains, and the rains produce grains, and from grains we live, and the cows live, and everyone is very happy. And Krishna, who's the Supreme Personality Godhead, began to preach atheism. He said, you don't have to worship any Indra. The rain is falling anyway, just like it falls in the ocean. What is the need of water in the ocean? It falls sometimes it falls on the rocks. What benefit do the rocks get from the rain? It's just raining anyway. We just do our duty and automatically rain will come. Just like I was always laughing, almost every school we go to, at first they always have these little sayings on the wall. So they say, duty is deity. Work is worship. I said, then the ass is the best worshiper. Duty is deity, work is worship. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality God, he was preaching atheism. He said, actually, our prosperity comes from Govardhan Hill, supplying grasses and the Brahmins who perform so many yagyas and we get so much benefit. So we should worship the Brahmins and Govardhan Hill. So then Nanda Baba said, look, let us do this Indra Puja, and then later we'll do the puja that you're talking about. But Baba, it took you so long to get all these things together. It'll take a long time to get all the ingredients. Now, while we have time, anyhow, Krishna is so charming. He charmed Nanda Baba. So they decided to worship Govardhan Hill and the Brahmins. And Krishna said, you had to make this and that, and all things made from milk. Milk is a wonder food, despite what the vegans say. It is a wonder food for humanity. Because from milk we get yogurt, we get ghee, we get so many wonderful things. Just like I was a cook, so it just that day that I came to the cabin, the next day was Jamastami, so they were cooking all day. And I was helping in the kitchen because they didn't have so many rules and regulations back those days. And I was amazed. They had this golden liquid called ghee. I'd never seen such a thing. And they rolled out this dough flat as a piece of paper, and they dropped it in this hot ghee, boop, and it blew up like a balloon. I said, wow, this is magic cooking. So anyways, so he said you make gulab jamans and burfi and rasgullas and sandesh and paneer sabji, all things, and puris and samosas, all things made with cow products, ghee and so many different, and milk products, so many things. And make tons and tons of rice and put butter on top of it and legs full of sweet rice and nectar. He made a whole big long list. And he said, you follow this, and anyone who doesn't follow this, who doesn't worship Govardhan Hill on this Govardhan Puja day, then there are many snakes on Govardhan Hill, and they'll be bitten by those snakes. It's like one time we were on Govardhan Prikrama, and we saw this little boy just by the side of the hill, little Brishbasi boy. He's calling us, come, come. We understand he didn't want money. He wanted to show us something. So we went there, and there's this big black cobra going along. And because we done Govardhan Puja, somehow that cobra just took one look at us and crawled into his hole and went away. So there's many snakes on Govardhan. So if you haven't done Govardhan Puja, don't go there and do Govardhan Prikrama. So they made, then they did the first Anukut. Anna, we can understand, means grain. And Kut, you may not know, means mountain. Just like Lord Ram was staying at Chitrakut. And there's another mountain with 3 peaks, Trikut. So Kut means mountains. So they mountains and mountains of rice with butter on top, and mountains of laddus, and mountains of pots of rasgullas, and mountains of pots of gulab jamuns and mountains and mountains of paneer sabji and baskets and baskets of puris and pakoras and samosas. Getting hungry, huh? So then they off, they began to offer everything to Govardhan Hill. Then it's described this Govardhan Hill took a huge form. Krishna wanted to establish that he and Govardhan Hill are non-different. So this huge Krishna appeared on top of Govardhan Hill. And Govardhan Hill became like an asad, and he sat down. And he's just like a little boy. His eyes became so big, looking at all these mountains of food. And he began to eat all that food. And he's just a little boy. He doesn't know what his right hand was left, but there's so much food. He began to eat with both hands. In fact, it's described, suddenly he manifested dozens of right hands and dozens of left hands. And bloop, 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 bloop. He finished everything off. Then in true Brisbazi fashion, he began to call, Anior, Anior, give me more, give me more. Even to this day, that village where this Anukut ceremony was performed is still called Anior. And the Brisbazis, they follow their leader. Because we know from Bhagavad Gita, Yad Yad Acharji Shrestha, whatever the great man does, the common men will follow. So you give them 10 rupees, they want 20. You give 20, they want 50. You give 50, they want 100. So they're all following their leader. So all the people, they said, but everything we had, we cooked and offered to you. Please be satisfied. Anior, Anior, give me more. And Nanda Baba said, but everything we had, our entire store, we've offered to you. Please be satisfied. Anior, Anior. And then Krishna came and he shrugged his shoulders, but there's nothing left. Be satisfied. Anior, Anior, give me more, give me more. Then some Brahmins came and they handed Krishna some tulsi manjaris. And he offered those. Well, first thing that happened was when Krishna appeared on top of the hill, then Krishna said, just see how Govardhan has appeared to accept your offering. Your Indra ever appeared? You're doing this puja every year. Did Indra ever come? Just see how Govardhan has appeared. And the little Krishna bowed down to the big Krishna. And everyone, Balaram and all the Brishvasis, they bowed down to the big Krishna. So then the Brahmins gave him some tulsi manjaris. He offered them to the big Krishna. Big Krishna popped them in his mouth and said, Triptos me. Now I'm fully satisfied. You can hear on the tape sometimes Prabhupada saying, fully satisfied. Then you know what full satisfaction is. So then the Brishvasis, they had a big feast. And Prabhupada describes they fed everyone, even down to the chandalas, even the animals, and they were throwing the prasad, and sometimes it fell on the ground, and they picked it up and ate it with great joy to prove that prasadam can never be contaminated. And then keeping the cows in front, they all circumambulated Govardhan Hill, and thus they performed the first Govardhan Puja. So meanwhile, Indra found out that his sacrifice had been stopped. He became very angry. And he started insulting Krishna. This whole verse is there. But by the grace of Goddess Saraswati, all his insults became praise. He was saying they're listening to this talkative fellow. But actually, if we see the Sanskrit from another angle, it means whatever he says will be talked for years, forever. Just like 5,000 years ago, Krishna spoke this verse in Bhagavad Gita. Senior moment. What is that one? Jovanam Jara? No. That the soul travels from Kumaram Jovanam Jara. Dhira tatra namuyate. Huh? Hmm? Hmm. Yeah, my mind just went blank also. Anyway, we know so many. Anyway, our favorite one is there. Sarvadharmam Prityaja Mamikam. So Krishna spoke this 5,000 years ago. We're still speaking. He said he's childish. If we see the Sanskrit from another angle, he's innocent. Huh? Huh? Uh, he said he's Naradam. He's the lowest of men. If we see it from another angle, all men go down before him. In this way, whatever Indra said became praise. Hmm? And then he came and told the Sambardika cloud to go there and pour down rain and destroy Braj and all the Brishbasis and their cows. Such aparad, we can't even imagine. Hmm? So suddenly, the, even in broad daylight, Braj became very dark as all these black clouds appeared and rain began to pour down. Huh? It says, I mean, in Hindi we say, uh, uh, what is it? Musaldhara, like clubs. Huh? In English, we say raining cats and dogs, whatever that means. I forget what they say in Russian, but anyway, it was just horrible rain and cold wind, and everybody was shivering, and the cows were shivering. And when the Brishbasis are in trouble, they only know Krishna, so they all came, Krishna, Krishna, Mahabhaga. Uh, uh, I can't remember the rest. Anyway, uh, 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 this Tvam Deva this Deva has become angry with us. So please, you're the Bhaktavatsala, you're benefactor of your devotees. So please save us. Hmm? So then Krishna, he realized this was Indra. So he went over to the Govardhan hill. He called all the Brishbasis, you follow me. And then he lifted the Govardhan hill with his left hand. Hmm? In the Tika, Sanatana Goswami says that he lifted with his left hand. Hmm? And he invited all the Brishbasis and cows and everyone to come underneath. Then when Krishna saw that Mother Yasoda was shocked, he put it on his pinky. Look, Ma, it's no problem. Just like when we're riding our bike, you're learning to ride bike, and Mata's in the kitchen watching from the, washing the dishes, watching us from the window. And we say, look, Ma, no hands, huh? Yeah, look, Ma, it's no problem. He's standing there by his own will, And Mother Mangal says, well, I'm chanting my Brahminical mantras. By my Brahmin Tejas, the hill is remaining. There's nothing to worry about, Ma. So in this way, the Brishbasis, for 7 days and 7 nights, this is special mercy on the Brishbasis because nobody saw Krishna all the time. In early morning, his mother and father and all the special friends, they get to see him as he wakes up and takes his bath and gets dressed. And then in the daytime, he's with, when he goes to the village and everybody gets to see him. When he goes out to the cowherd fields, only the cows and the cowherd boys get to see him. Then he comes back through the village and everyone gets to see him. Then at night, the gopis get to see him. But nobody sees Krishna all the time. Now, 24 hours a day, 24/7, everyone was seeing the moon-like face of Krishna. And they weren't hungry. They weren't thirsty. They weren't tired, not like you, falling asleep in Bhagavatam class all the time. They weren't tired, they weren't thirsty. They were just relishing the moonlight face of Krishna for 7 days and 7 nights. And Indra came and he threw his thunderbolts and they were ineffective. And it's described in Gopal Champu that Krishna's chakra came over the hill and sprayed all the water away. In fact, there's one chakra tirth we were talking about the other day. So in this way, suddenly Indra realized his mistake. And he went, oops. And he told all the clouds, make yourself scarce, get out of here quick. And then he went back to Indraloka. And when the rain stopped, Krishna put the hill down and told everyone to come outside, and he put the hill down. And before that, actually, Mother Yasoda, she got worried and said, Lala, you want some butter or something? No, that's okay. Mother Munga says, wait a minute, you speak for yourself. Yeah, bring that butter. So he put the hill back down, and now he became known as Giridhari. uh, so Indra was very worried. He just sat on his throne on this side, then on this side. He didn't come home. He didn't talk to Sachi Devi, his wife. He didn't eat anything. He didn't come home to sleep. The Sachi Devi, she can understand that he's very up. Something's wrong. Hmm? Hmm? Because there's nothing that drives the woman more crazy is when the man becomes quiet. Uh, And there's nothing that drives the man more crazy when the woman doesn't stop speaking. But anyway, there's a whole science to that. We don't have time to get into it. So anyway, she knows that he's in a bad, whoa, he's in mood karabo, yeah. He's in bad mood. I better not go there. So she went to Brihaspati. The Brihaspati went there and said, what's the matter? And he explained, and Brihaspati said, now you blew it. Now you really blew it. He said, better you need somebody to intercede. So this Surbi cow, there's a Goloka also within this material world full of cows. You take one of those cows from Goloka and you go there, maybe you have a chance. Because Krishna, he loves devotees and cows. So Indra, he decided to go down and beg forgiveness from Krishna. Meanwhile, Krishna, with all the cowherd boys and the cows, they all came out to, Krishna was doing a inspection tour. Just like as soon as an earthquake or tsunami, then the chief minister or the prime minister, he flies in his helicopter. Jadyarik Chardi Shrestha, Sura following the great leader. So Krishna was on his inspection tour. And then Indra came down, he's riding on Airavata. And it's described that Airavata, we see the paintings, he not only has one trunk, he has many trunks. Actually, we were just in Thailand, he has 3 heads. What to speak of 3 trunks? He has many trunks, he has 3 heads. So anyway, all the cows, they took one look at that elephant. And cows' eyes are already big, they got bigger. And cows' ears are down like this. They go, and they all ran away. Now you're lucky you live here in New Govardhan, so you see cows. You've seen them run, right? When they run, they kick backwards, this way and that way. And what the first thing they do, they put their tail in the sky. Danger, danger. So they all ran away. So all the cowherd boys ran after the cows. So meanwhile, Indra came down, and the king of heaven paid his obeisances in the dust of Braj with his crown and everything. And Krishna walked by and didn't even look at him from the corner of 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 his eye. The Indra thought, I'm really in trouble. So he called Survi. So on the other side from Govindakund, on the other side, there's a place called Survikund, very beautiful place. So Survi went there because we need someone, we're very, just like us, we're very fallen. We need someone to intervene for us. So that is Srila Prabhupada. He's always writing, ending his letters, I'm always praying for young boys and girls, now we're no longer young, to advance in Krishna consciousness. So we need someone to intervene for us. So Survi went there. He said, actually, Indra's your devotee. He became a little puffed up. You don't like pride in your devotees. But anyway, just like the children, they do so many nonsense things. And the parents become mad, but they always love the children and they forgive them. Don't take advantage. So Krishna decided to forgive Indra. And Indra bowed down with is described with his crown touching Krishna's feet. And then they went to the other side of the hill, and Airavata went off to the heavenly planets to bring that Kash Ganga, the celestial Ganga. Not this Ganga where sinful people like you and me are bathing, but where the Devas are bathing. So he brought that Ganga, and Surbi, just from her udder, she was pouring milk on Krishna. This Abhishek ceremony was going. And everyone came, and all the Gandharvas were singing or playing musical instruments. The Gandharvas were singing. The Kinnaras were playing beautiful instruments, and all the Apsaras came, and they were trained up by Indradumna Maharaj. They were dancing very nicely. And all these things were beautiful. Abhishek ceremony was going on. So then, at the end of the Abhishek, they offered Krishna some fresh cloth, and Indra took a crown, and he crowned Krishna as Govinda. And Jiva Goswami in Gopal Champu explains the meaning. That just like you've all heard of Narendra, right? He's got a shop at the end of Loy Bazaar with even signs in Russian. So Nar, Indra, the Indra amongst the Nar, the human beings, the king. As Indra's the king of the demigods, the Nar, the Indra of the human beings is the king. Yogendra, Mahendra. So Govind means king of the cows. The secret meaning is that all the 33 million demigods live in the body of the cow. So Krishna becoming the king of the cow means he becomes king of Indra also. So he got the name Govinda. Before he was Gopal, now he is Govinda. So then they brought all this opulent artik paraphernalia, on a solid silver thali with gold ghee lamps, and chamaras with pearl embedded handles, and peacock fans with diamonds and rubies, and so many things, and conch shells covered with silver and embedded with so many jewels. And all the Brahmins were singing beautiful Vedic mantras and perfect rhyme and everything. And this artik ceremony was going on, and Krishna was sitting there, nodding his head, accepting their artik. At least they thought. And then they all bowed down and left. Meanwhile, all the cowherd boys came back from herding up the cows, and they saw Krishna sitting there, and all this opulent artik paraphernalia. So they started playing artik. And they were just playing, their tamara fans, their ghee lamp. And they weren't even singing Vedic mantras. They're just singing their little Brishbasi songs. And they don't even sing on tune like the Brahmins were singing on tune. But Brishbasis, they can't carry a tune, not like Bengalis, Arati Kunja Vihari Ki Sigiri Dari Krishna Murari Ki. And Krishna was just laughing and laughing. And all the demigods were up in the sky, in the clouds, and they were seeing, we don't have a whiff of love for Krishna like these Brishbas. Krishna was just officially accepting our artik. Just like they make a new bridge in the city, so the mayor comes and he smiles, plastic smile for the cameras, because he has to worry about votes. There's no love, it's all official. So Krishna was officially accepting our artik. He's actually accepting the artik of these Brishbas. Then Nanda Baba came with all the older Brishbasis, because he heard something as strange as going on the side of Govardhan Hill with gold and silver and ruby and diamond. He said this guy was stealing butter. Now what's he up to? So Nanda Baba came, and all the boys looked up, and Nanda Baba said, where you get all this gold and silver and pearl and diamond and ruby? It was just here, Baba. Yeah, right. Just like the father comes home at night, there's a big mess from one room to the other. He said, who made this mess? Just happened, Baba. It just happened, Peter. Yeah, right. It just happened. So none of us say, yeah, right. It just happened. Then Madamangal started chirping up. He says, no, no, Baba, they don't know. I saw everything, Baba, because this guy came. Swear to God, Baba, he had eyes all over his whole body, Baba, and he was riding on this elephant with not just one trunk and many trunks. And the cows, they saw that elephant, and they all ran away, and everybody ran after the cows. But I'm lame, Baba. I couldn't run. I was sitting here in the bushes. I saw everything. Trust my heart up to die. Such bull room, Baba. I mean, jute neighbor bull room. I'm not telling a lie. I'm telling the truth, Baba. And uh, that guy with all the eyes on his body, he got down and fell in the dirt and paid his obeisance to Lala, and Lala didn't even look at him, Baba. And then this cow came, Baba. I never saw a cow like that, Baba. And she began to talk to Krishna. And then they came over here, and the elephant brought some water from somewhere in the sky, and the cow began to pour milk on Krishna. And then all these people came. And Baba, I never heard songs like that. I never saw instruments they were playing like that, Baba. And then all these girls came. Oh, Baba, I never saw girls like that, Baba. And they were dancing, and they performed this. Then after they performed this Arctic ceremony, and then they put this crown on Krishna, and then they all left, Baba. And the cowherd boys came back, and it was just here. They found it all, Baba. Then a voice from the sky said, Nanda, now you crown Krishna as Govinda. And Nanda Baba took that same crown. He crowned Krishna as Govinda. This was the other one was just official. This was the real crowning. and that, where all that Abhishek water collected, that became known as Govinda Kund. And Bhakti Ratnakar says, anybody who takes that water on his head, he gets Govinda Prem. Bolo Sigiraj Maharaj ki jai. Oh, everybody out there in Zoom land, or wherever you are, Facebook land live, or huh? This is our, well, maybe we come back to be another class, but anyway, we're off to, tomorrow we're off to, what is it, Wellington, I guess. Christchurch. And then Wellington, so Hare Krishna. To all of you in Cyberland. Hare Krishna. Yeah. To the Prabhupada ki.